Welcome to the Nick and Matt Show. Bringing the player interviews you want to hear and the hot topics you want to discuss. Streaming live on the Foundation Podcast YouTube channel, here's Nick and Matt.
Hold on. Here we go. Let me try it again. All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 58. You've been waiting for this one. We have a big winner on the show tonight named Adam HAMMES. You know anything about Adam, Nick?
I do. I know that he's sitting about 5 feet from me right now, so we're going to bring him on soon enough. But yeah, I know a decent amount about Adam.
All right, cool. I'm excited. That's probably the best. I got to be careful. I watched Paul Macbeth shoot like a 45 at Maple once on a previous layout, different layout, and I was firsthand for that. That was pretty cool. But this was pretty neat. This was a come behind win for Adam. We'll talk about it. Nick, we have a lot of outlets for like podcast listeners, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. I think we've got like Google Play and whatever else, right? If you're listening on any of those platforms, I want everybody to go out and to review it. Nick, have you ever had a chance to check out any of the reviews on our show?
I did early on. I actually haven't as of late. I don't really, like, I was talking to someone the other day and they were talking about whenever they're on post-production, and he was like, yeah, I make sure to read every single comment. And I'm like, I have no desire to read every single comment or review.
Okay, so, but here's the question though. Will you commit to check out these reviews that come in if people do them this week? We'll do that, right?
Yeah, I'll absolutely do that. I'll be back in Massachusetts next Sunday night. So I'll definitely take a look at all the reviews within the next 6 days. I'll take a look at all the reviews for any of the podcast platforms so that Monday night we can talk about it next week.
Cool. Yeah. So people, if you want to get a message through to Nick and Matt, just leave it in the review. Like, hey, bro. No, I'm just kidding. Leave your reviews. We love it. If you think we deserve 5 stars, give us 5 stars. If you think it's less, give us less. We want to see your honest reviews. It also helps us stay relevant in the disc golf world. Nick, let's jump right into, well, right before we do that, how'd you feel about your performance at MVP?
The only thing that felt good to me was my Circle 1X putting, and I'm happy about that because I putted, I think 100%, or it was 100%, and I think it was 19 out of 19 or 20 out of 20 putts from Circle 1X, which would be 11 feet to 33 feet. So I did that well. I also was like 50% Circle 2 putting the last round. I think I was 30% overall throughout the tournament. So putting was a major strong suit, which was awesome because if I was a bad putter, then I would have shot like 40 over instead of 6 over. And it just sucks because my backhand was non-existent these last few weeks. And my forehand felt pretty good. A lot of drives that required a forehand I did well on. Some upshots I did well on with forehands. But backhand was just kind of a letdown this week. So I'm trying to figure that out now before Green Mountain.
Yeah, man. This might be the first year, and people can say bad co-host, that's cool. But this might be the first year I didn't follow you through your rounds. And is this the worst you've ever performed?
I don't know, actually. I bet you I did worse.
Okay.
Back in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, because 2019 I did okay. 2020, I didn't do that great either. 2019 was my best year at this tournament. And then this year, I don't know. If I'm not doing well, I don't care about, like, I care about how my round is going. I want to play well. My final round, I had 8 birdies. I just also followed it up with like 7 bogeys and a double bogey in there. So it was cool to get 8 birdies at Maple Hill Golds. I've never done that before. But when I'm shooting like 60th, 70th, 80th place, I don't really care about the ratings at that point. So I don't go back in and look at all my stuff. So I don't even know what place I ended up finishing up at. I just wanted to play the last round, hopefully shoot a decent round, which even's not great, but it's not terrible. And then I just went out and watched Paul's whole round, and then I watched the last hole for Adam, and then I had some delicious beer. So that was great.
Yeah,
that's what I was waiting for the most, because I knew there was a nice sour beer that Flying Dreams had, so I wanted to have a couple of those.
Yeah, that picture of Nick and Matt with the winner, Adam HAMMES, is going around, and yes, you're holding that beer, so congratulations.
I'm holding the tabletop pie beer. Someone randomly gave me it. This dude from New York, Enac, who's a good buddy of mine. He just had it in his pocket. He's like, yo, you want to try this beer? I was like, Hey, absolutely. It's been a long week. Sure.
All right. They are not official sponsors of the Nick and Matt show. That's okay. Nick likes it. All right. They should be. Okay. Well, let's get into these stats for MVP. We have Statmando again lining us up with some incredible stats, and we're actually going to talk a little about this later. But they had their crew, Statmando, actually at this event on specific holes, tracking everything. And so, just to tease it out, things like the speed of the throw, if they're throwing righty, backhand, lefty, forehand, back, where did they land? Every shot for the whole tournament. There's going to be some incredible stuff coming out, but not those stats specifically right now, just the event stats. We obviously know, Nick. Oh, there's obviously.
Yeah, I know.
We do know who won, and you said he's close to you now. Let's shout out. Let's just get it out of the way. We'll talk to him in a little bit. Adam HAMMES. The biggest stat, and I want you to react to this because you just played the event. The biggest stat that stands out to me is how many strokes Adam gained tee to green at Maple Hill. Getting to the green and regulation off the tee pad is incredibly not easy, is how I'll put it. What's your reaction to him gaining 28, almost 22 strokes on the whole field doing that?
It's wild because people who have never played Maple Hill think that it's a super long course, but it's really not. During the regular year, it's only a par 59. So there's 5 par 4s, which are 1, 11, 12, 17, 18 normally. So the course has a ton of par 3s, a majority of par 3s, because there's no par 5s either. During the tournament, it goes to a par 60. Hole 9 gets elevated and gets put closer to the water. So the course lengthens up just a little bit. But the difficulty about Maple Hill is that it's hard par 3s. It's a lot of hard par 3s. Like hole 2 is not an easy hole to reach. Hole 3 is an incredibly hard hole to get the 2 on. Because it's long. You have to throw a perfect S-curve shot for a righty backhand. Hole 4 is a very tight tunnel. Hole 5 has a ton of OB. I think hole 6 is still statistically the hardest par 3 in the Disc Golf Pro Tour. I'd love it if Evan if we could figure that out from Statmando. What is statistically the hardest par 3? Because I bet you $100 that it's hole 6 at Maple Hill Golds.
Evan,
and then,
yeah, he's either going to jump in the chat or he can send me a text message either way. But yeah, I still believe that's probably true as well. Yep.
And then, so kind of like looking at Adam's last round, because we were talking about it last night, he got the deuce on hole 7, which is an incredibly hard hole to get the deuce on. Hole 10 is just straight uphill. Hole 8 was super difficult this year for a lot of people. I mean, they just extending the tee pad back another 50, 60 feet like they did makes that hole like a lot harder. Before, I used to be able to throw a mid-range over hole 8's water. And then now I was doing this power forehand with a distance driver. And that's what I'm doing now to get to the green. 13, 14, incredibly hard hole, very easy to go OB. 15's tight, not the hardest hole in the world. But then 16 is the infamous ace hole by Kevin Jones. And then now Gavin Babcock actually aced it the last round, which is pretty sick. That's not an easy par 3. And then 17 and 18 are both difficult par 4s. So to have 21 strokes gained tee to green is insane because, it also just shows that his fairway hits were first in percentage, his Circle 1 regulation, Circle 2 regulation, and birdie percentage. He was first place in all of those stats. And that just, a majority of that comes from gained tee to green on every single one of those opportunities. It allowed him to putt 88% from Circle 1X and be 36th in the field. And it allowed him to still win the event by 3 strokes just because of how incredible his driving was, which I think has been kind of a storyline this year of getting to certain courses where you really need that drive or that upshot game to succeed rather than, I guess, the putting aspect of it. So
that's really good reaction. That's what I was hoping from you. It is really good. So with that in mind, we'll just recap very shortly here. Eagle McMahon tied for second. Obviously, I say obviously again. Nick, that's now my bad word. So it's rubbed off.
I actually notice when I say it. It's annoying because I probably never would have noticed it before until someone said it. Until Hannah said something.
Did you see? Did you see on hole 18? You had a fan out there that had a sign up that said Nick Carl, and then another sign it said obviously.
Yeah, Jason put it up there. It was super nice of him. It made me laugh.
So a fan is out there razzing Nick and during his round. Good, it made you laugh. So Eagle McMahon tied for second going into the final round. I think it was a 4-stroke lead. Yes. Ricky Wysocki playing pretty good, coming down to the tail end of the event there, kind of faltering a little OB. So tied for second with Eagle was Ricky.
Yeah, I was watching Ricky's round because he was playing on the same card as Paul. So I started following them about hole 9. And Ricky had, I think, birdie 11, birdie 12. He got a really unfortunate kick on hole 13. It looked like one of the most pure drives I've ever seen. It was just a little too high. But the angle of his rock that he threw it on, if it hadn't hit this tree limb and dropped straight down, I think it would have been parked or in that ravine at least to where, now it's a potential birdie. But then 14, he hit a big putt. 15, he hit a big putt. And so I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be a 3-way kind of like what's going to go down on hole 18. I thought there was 3 people going to be in contention to it. And then Ricky threw a drive on hole 16 that just right when it hit a tree, immediately shot left OB. And then 17, he threw a great drive through this, what we all thought was a perfect upshot because the crowd started cheering. And then all of a sudden you hear something like, oh, no, don't do that. And then his disc rolled to like 40 feet underneath the tree. So super unfortunate ending for him. But because he had a lot of momentum going up to that point. And then I think the OB on 16, the par on 17, at that point, it took him out of the tournament.
Yeah. And so talking about unfortunate kicks, I'll do it before Adam actually comes onto the show. There was, I think it was round 3. Yeah, I think it was round 3. In hole 16, the famous ace hole from Kevin Jones, Adam had what could be considered a good drive with any mistakes happening, not resulting in OB, but he hit a tree on the right side of the fairway, sending him 90 degrees left hard into OB. Not very many people go OB on that hole. He didn't feel like he deserved it. I, watching as a fan, didn't feel like he deserved it, but obviously still pulling off the win. Matt Bell, Calvin Heimberg, Matt Oram rounding out tied for 4th. Let's talk about FPO for just a minute here. Katrina Allen taking it down, and I think this is significant. In her press conference leading up to this event, she's like, I think it's my time. Now, does she say that all the time? Maybe. But she felt like it was her time because if you look at the record here, I'm going all the way back to 2012, 9 years ago, when she and Kale LaVisca won at MVP. But besides that, you had Valerie Jenkins, and then you had Paige Pierce winning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times now. Or let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 times, and Sarah Hokum. So like Katrina, this has not been her event. She took it down convincingly. And you have Kona Panis, second place. Paige Pierce, this is a surprise. This is her event to win. Do you have any reaction to Paige Pierce taking 3rd place, finishing 8 back on Katrina Allen? What do you think?
I mean, for how incredibly tight FPO has been this year, I'm not surprised with like Katrina winning the event, Kona getting 2nd, Paige getting 3rd. I'm more surprised at Paige losing by 8 strokes. That's where I'm kind of like, that does surprise me. Normally, she plays very, very well at this course. It's obviously been seen in years past that she plays well at this event. So to lose it by 8 strokes, I think that's just kind of like the testimony of what's going on in the parity of what's going on this year in the FPO division. Of lately, it has been, if it's your weekend to shine, it's your weekend to shine. And there's been so many different winners this year. Now that we're getting to the back half of the year, almost like the back quarter at this point, you have players winning multiple times. Katrina's just coming off from the National Tour win, and then now for the Disc Golf Pro Tour win. So it's just been a great year to follow along for the FPO division.
Yeah. So Haley King taking 4th place. Tiger Borth tied for 5th with Missy Gannon, both 12 strokes back. So when you look at the field, again, convincingly Katrina Allen, because the closest was Kona Panis at 7 down. Now, Kona came out the first 2 rounds, showing that she has a chance and is here to play, faltering a little bit in the last round. But everybody's kind of right there, and it's weird to see Paige Pierce in that mix again at an event that she's so dominant at. Katrina Allen showing up. Congratulations to her.
Like I said, I'm not surprised that she was in content, or I'm not surprised that anyone would have lost this event. It's more surprising that she did lose it by 8 strokes. I think that's kind of like the more storyline that I get from this event.
Okay. I'm trying to remember the question we asked Statmando live here. He answered. He said number 18 at Waco and number 6 at MVP, but I don't remember what your question was, Nick.
I have to
Okay.
think of that now.
That's so funny.
Yeah, Chad, what was my question?
That's okay. No. We'll just move on here. So we're going to talk more about stats by Statmando. Again, we will get to that, but we've got Adam HAMMES lined up here. But before we get to him even, we want to say thank you to those who support the Nick and Matt show. So let's jump right into it. All right, everybody. Shout out to Manscaped. Autumn is in the air. The pumpkins are in the patch. And our friends at Manscaped are here to make sure you don't carve your pumpkins when you're grooming, if you know what I'm saying. So make sure you're keeping things fresh this fall with the leaders in male grooming and their brand new 4th generation performance package. I have that package. I had to look this word up, Nick. You ready? Boys, get ready for a cuffing season like no other. Cuffing. I'm like, oh boy, what are we talking about? Cuffing season. So I looked it up, Urban Dictionary, didn't know what I was going to find. But get ready for cuffing season. I'll tell you what that means in a minute. Cuffing season like no other. Are you ready to take the leap this fall with Manscaped? Join the 2 million men worldwide using Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com, 20% off. You see it on the screen. Using Nick and Matt. Free shipping as well as part of that. Nick, I have the Performance Package 4.0. What is your product of choice right now with Manscaped?
To be honest, I think the lawnmower, the 2.0, or excuse me, the weed whacker, the 2.0, because that one, randomly, every so often, that little nose hair comes out. Don't know why, but I just take the little weed whacker, go in, it buzzes around for a couple seconds, and then no more nose hair. And it's incredible. But with the Performance Package, the 4.0, you actually get the lawnmower 4.0, the weed whacker, which is an ear, nose, hair trimmer. You get crop preserver ball deodorant, crop reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, which are super comfortable, and you get a travel bag to put everything in that travel bag, which is also just another incredible handy tool to have with your set of handy tools.
That's right. So Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package. Go over and get it using Nick and Matt boxers and the Shed travel bag. Get comfy on the home and on the go this season, especially disc golfers on the go. I'll tell you, they do have a good product. Nick, as we wrap up this ad, everyone loves ads, but how about if we give you a nugget of information? Cuffing season. In the chat, let me know. What is cuffing? cuffing, cuffing season. If you were like me, you had to go over to urbandictionary.com. And Nick, what did you say it was earlier?
I said like you start dating someone or you get hitched or something like that.
Yes, and I said you were very close. It's not just getting hitched. It's specifically a time of the year. So like the fall's rolling in and you're going to find your one. You're going to get like committed relationship through the winter season. I thought that was, I've never heard that, cuffing season, the winter season, getting serious with a relationship. So everybody, manscaped.com, code Nick and Matt, 20% off. Thank you for the support. They're supporting disc golfers like us. Go check out their product. You will love it. All right, Nick, I think we've made it to that time where we're going to bring in, honestly, we're ready, I think. Are you ready? Bring in Adam HAMMES. All right, everybody, welcome to the show, Mr. Adam HAMMES. Welcome to the show, Adam. Are you still, like, I don't know, reeling from your win? How does it feel right now?
It's it's still settling in, feeling good. Kind of just took the day to decompress and take it all in, so it's been great.
Okay, so Nick, you're in the same room as him. I know it can be weird as asking questions to the guy next to you, but feel free to do it. But here's my follow-up. What I asked you this yesterday, but I didn't want to get your answer yesterday. I wanted to like have it on the show. What is the like literal feeling? How would you describe winning? First of all, this is your second time, but this is your first DGPT. What does it feel like to win this big of an event? Because I will never do it. And I just want you to like shed some of the feelings of what you were having in that moment.
Obviously it feels amazing, but I think when I was stepping on the tee of 18, I knew I'd just get par to win the tournament, and I was, starting to shake. I was definitely, the nerves were definitely on, even though I still had to get par with the 2-stroke lead. But Yeah, there's a lot of things going on in your head. It's pretty wild. Kind of undescribable, honestly. You just, I don't know, pretty hard to describe.
I feel like though that's what you need to go into hole 18 at Maple Hill is at least 2 strokes, because then you have the opportunity to play for par, but your opponent has to go for the birdie to make any sort of run to put any pressure on you. So Eagle was in that position to where you threw your upshot first, so he saw you lay up. You got just up to the top of the mount to where you're now jump putting at it, and then Eagle throws a shot OB. What is kind of like your feeling of, okay, thank God, like what is going on?
Once I threw that second shot to the mouth, I knew I could just jump put up and get my par. So I don't know. Having 2 strokes, I knew I could get par. Even if I bogeyed with Eagle missing it, I still would have won. So yeah, I definitely had the pressure on the tee of 18, but I knew I could just get a par. Luckily, snuck through the trees on the right side because I kind of just yanked my drive over there because I was scared of the OB on the left. But
which might have been, you heard Matt and I talking about it earlier, but your driving capability off the tee this weekend was insane. Your gain tee degree percentage and gain tee degree in strokes was like over 23. So talk to us, where did that, were you relying on the backhand, the forehand? What disc were you relying on?
Yeah, my backhand was really smooth this week. I worked on it, hard for my off week in Virginia, and then going into Delaware, I had, moments of promise with my backhand, and I'd have a couple bad holes. But this week it kind of all came together, and my backhand confidence with an undertaker, which is hard for me to get to a spot where I'm throwing the undertaker really well. I got to a spot where I could throw the undertaker well, and I knew if I could throw that disc well, I could throw almost any disc in my bag. And I just had my bag dialed, I had my shots dialed. I love the course. I love the shots. It forces me to throw. I feel like it suits my game. Long, flexing onyx shots and high flip straight shots and buzz shots and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have said, I think probably in your interviews, this is your favorite tournament every single year to go to, and it's on your favorite course. What about the course and the tournament make you feel that way? Is it staying somewhere that's only 5 minutes away, so it's nice and convenient for you? Or
yes, correct, Carl. Staying at your house is very convenient, 5 miles down the road. No, there's a lot of things. I think just like camaraderie of people that go into this tournament, just the history. The course is just beautiful. You have the pine trees. You have inside going into the woods, out of the woods. You have the lakes, the water features. This year, the course had a little extra water on it, so we had some casual water creeks kind of just rolling through the course. And it just sets the vibe kind of for a really cool course. And there's every hole, every tee I step on, I just think how great of a course this is. I just feel really comfortable there, and it's similar to the golf I played growing up. Just long wooded, some OB. So yeah, I just have confidence. I just really like what it is.
Awesome. Can I also allude to the fact that you came on the Nick and Matt show the week of? Now, let me just point out. You can say, "Oh, that's cool," but the previous year before, we had Paul on the show the week of, and he won that year. Now, we kind of cast our net a little larger this year. We had 6 players in the room.
We had like 7 players.
We had to keep our percentage chances higher. So next year we'll bring in like 12, and we got to promote the Nick and Matt show. But
hold on, Matt. This is what we actually did figure out, that over the last 3 years, whoever has stayed at my parents' house has won the tournament. So I said, oh, Adam, do you already want to book your spot for next year? Just kind of like joking around. And I'm thinking in my head, I was like, you know what? No one is staying at my house next year. Not even my parents are staying at my house next year. The only people that are staying there is me, myself, and I, because I want to win this tournament now. So everyone else has been kicked out. They all have to find their own lodging now. But no, just kidding. The last 3 years, though, it has been kind of funny that the winner of the event has stayed at my house. So we're going to try to go 4 for 4 now. Yeah.
Okay, let me give you this stat, Adam, or not. It is stats. It's stats. Here we go. I find it interesting. I'd love your reaction to it. And we're going to start in 2018, then 19, and then we'll talk about this year. I'll get it out specifically. You came back to win at the 2018 Silver Cup, trailing by 5 strokes to Kale LaVisca in the final round. 2019, you came back to win, trailing 4 strokes to Austin Hannum in the final round at the Wintertime Open. 2021, Shelley Sharp Memorial trailing by 4 strokes to Drew Gibson in the final round. That was this year. And then again this year, 2021, trailing by 4 strokes to Eagle McMahon at the MVP Open. Is that something that's just you thrive off of? What is your reaction to that stat coming back to win like that in those events?
Comebacks are fun. I definitely like being down. It kind of gives me like I have nothing to lose. I can kind of fight and play aggressive and just try to execute every hole perfectly. When you're in the lead, you kind of have to maintain and kind of play like more strategic golf. But if you're 3-4 back, you just pedal to the metal. So I kind of like those situations, and I guess I didn't realize I had this many comebacks.
I know, it's kind of insane actually.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, that's cool reaction from you, not even realizing that. And I mean, again, Statmando, we thank them very much for that. You got to meet Statmando, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, super cool there. So
yeah, they are very cool. And we're going to talk about that later. I keep teasing it. React to this. UDisc just updated their world rankings. Do you know where you're at with that ranking?
I think I saw him in 5th now, if I'm not mistaken.
He bumped Todd Klein.
Yeah, I bumped Kyle.
I don't know. I think he was 5th before.
Am I 5th?
That is my understanding. I actually didn't look myself, thanks to the chat for shouting that out. They're saying top 5 in the world to Adam HAMMES. What's your reaction? You feel like that's good? Does that inspire you? What does it do?
It feels good, That's a pretty big jump, 14th to 5th. But I mean, yeah, it feels really good, being top 5 player in the world. I don't even know what to say. It's crazy.
I will tell you from my perspective, I'm lucky that I started to get to know you a few years ago, so it doesn't look like I'm jumping on the bandwagon now. You are an incredible player. We're very privileged to have you come on the show, and like you do, you're like, yeah, I'm down. You love it, and I appreciate that a lot. I'm trying to think here. One other stat, and this was said live on DGN. You're the 4th player. There's only been 3 other players besides you to win an NT and a Disc Golf Pro Tour in the same year. Does that stat matter to you? I think it sounds pretty cool. How do you feel about it?
It definitely feels pretty cool. It's definitely the most interesting stat that I kind of heard with all, the new stats coming from Maple Hill and Statmando. Yeah, I didn't realize only 3 other people have done that. I feel like there's a lot more. Like, I guess the Pro Tour hasn't been around as long as the National Tour, so. And then people who have won national tours in the past maybe haven't got their Pro Tour win yet. But
yeah,
true.
Yeah, it's crazy. Look at one of the stats is Paul has done that 5 times, and so throughout, like, how many Pro Tour events are there per year, and how many national tour events per year? Macbeth has won it 5 times doing that. Wysocki's done it 4 times, and then Eagle has done it once. And I want to say it was probably the year that Eagle won. Beaver State Fling at some point, and then won a Pro Tour after that. I'm not sure which ones, but yeah, shout out to the guys over at Statmando doing all these stats. And then we actually have a bunch more about like one of the holes at Maple Hill, just incredible stats that they come up for us.
Yeah, and I want to go back to a moment during the final round where I think, and I hate to bring up the fact that you missed a putt. You did a great job winning a tournament. But on hole 14, and I mentioned this to you following the round, because Jeff Corns, this is final round, Jeff Corns, your caddy and friend and a lot of other things, right? He goes, Matt, I expect you to go hype, yell the hammer. You got to effing do this when he hits this putt on 14. And I think you talked about shaking on hole 18. I started like shaking on 14 because I was like so ready to go hype, and then it didn't happen because you missed the putt. But
yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Because Jeff actually mentioned that. He's like, Adam feeds off the energy. Is that true, or is that his perspective?
Yeah, I definitely feed off the crowd energy, cardmates energy. I mean, there's definitely certain players on tour that, I can feed off of, and we can hype each other up more. A great example is, Wysocki. I played 2nd round with Ricky, and we were just kind of pumping each other up all the time, and we both, shot good, smooth rounds. But yeah, definitely feeding off the energy, and if there's that extra one loud guy in the crowd yelling hammer, I guess, then yeah, I'll definitely feed off it. Definitely makes me smile and keeps the tension, I guess, a little looser in those situations. So,
well,
I mean, one of the greatest things about Maple Hill is to me, and I've been to a decent amount of Pro Tour events. I have not been to them all. I have not been, to a ton of events that had massive crowds. But Maple Hill, because I've lived there, close to there for so long, Maple Hill always had that great like hole 18 vibe. But then that whole 18 vibe turned into a hole 1 vibe, a hole 8 vibe, a hole 14 vibe, and then a hole 18 vibe. And so now you have all these different places where people are cheering. And I think we're going to talk about this a little bit later too, Matt, but the 8 holes. Did you have any fun experiences with the 8 holes, or is that something like, what do you feel about the 8 holes? Kind of like, let's take it where you're walking up to hole 8. You have this massive crowd sitting out there. You have a great island shot that you need to hit. But then talk about it when you're on hole like 5 or 6, and all of a sudden you hear random cheering.
Mm-hmm. I like the 8 holes. I think it's great. It just adds to everything that goes on at Maple Hill. I know some of the players get frustrated over the loud noise, but honestly, with how big disc golf's getting, there's just going to be more fans, and the crowds are going to get louder and wilder. So I don't know. It doesn't really bother me. I definitely didn't try to let the 8 holes distract me in the final round. I kind of necessarily didn't come down the fairway nodding at everyone and trying to have a fun little time. I was trying to stay calm, keep my head down, and keep doing what I was doing. But yeah, no, I love the 8 holes. They they're pretty wild. So running around with green flags, screaming.
Yeah, there was like these, it was probably a dad and his 2 kids, and they had this like synchronized notion or emotion of when someone landed in bounds, they would all run a different direction. It was awesome. And I think it's great.
Yeah,
I think it's a fun time. And I mean, landing in bounds, they get hyped up. Making that deuce putt, they get hyped up. But even like landing OB, they all yell, but then those drops, and the new drop zone this year on hole 8 opened up this opportunity of these really fun drop zone putts.
Mm-hmm.
And every single time someone hit a drop zone putt, they went probably more ballistic than they did on some of the drives because of how fun that shot is to watch from the drop zone. So it's a big jump up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate to do this, Adam, but someone in the chat named Tyler's Real Fishing, they just will not leave you alone. Here we go.
What you got for me now?
Yeah, every single time he says, this is harsh. I don't know if maybe I shouldn't read it. Here we go. Adam HAMMES is a top 5 loser in the world. There you go.
I'm genuinely curious.
I don't even know what to say to that.
He must be following Foundation, because unless you reshared it, no. He must be following Foundation, because I don't think he follows me on Instagram. So I'm wondering, how does he even know that Adam was coming on the show?
Definitely Foundation.
Got to be following Foundation.
Okay, sorry I brought that up. We know that's yeah. All right, you're a winner to us. Okay, let's see here. Let's I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to react to with you here on the show. There's a couple other things we'd like to do. Let's go ahead and, if you're cool with it, let's jump into a stat or fiction. You've played this with us before. Are you down to do that again?
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. Thanks to Statmando for stat fiction. Just a reminder, a stat would be something like Nick Carl is rated higher or better than me, Matt Graham. That's easy, stat. Example number 2, Nick Carl has more Disc Golf Pro or Tour wins than Paul Macbeth. That would be fiction.
Stat.
All right. So let's get into it. I always say question. It's stat. It's phrase number 1. Is it true or false? Here we go. Adam HAMMES has never won a PDGA event on the same day the Milwaukee Bucks have beaten an Eastern Conference NBA team.
Oh, gosh. Come on.
I mean,
what is this?
If that's a stat, I'm so beyond impressed by the Statmando guys now that they would even think to look something up like that. I'm going to go with the stat, though. I don't think he's ever won the day that they've played an Eastern Conference team and won their game.
I don't know. Stat.
All right. I'm going to roll the dice like Nick usually does, and I'm going to say fiction just because I have to get a point somehow. Here we go. Let's see how it plays out. I get the point. It is actually fiction. So here's the backup for that. The backup is in 2021 on June 13th. So this year, June 13th, the Bucks won versus, I don't realize this name, BKN. Anyways.
Brooklyn.
Okay, Brooklyn. Thank you. I'm not a big basketball guy. HAMMES
What that's-
won the Resistance Disc Open. Why would that not be? Okay. They're not an Eastern Conference team. Is that what we're saying? Brooklyn?
No, they are. I wonder if it was on a Saturday that they played Brooklyn, and then Adam won it on a Sunday, maybe.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Anyways, for April 22nd, 2018, Bucks win versus Boston. HAMMES won the Rumble. So, fiction. Adam HAMMES has never won a P. So he has won. Oh, we're reading it backwards. We're saying it's fiction. It means he has won on those days. Because the stat.
Oh, I get what you're saying. I get what okay.
The statement says Adam HAMMES has never won on those days.
Yep.
That's fiction because you have. Okay, here we go.
Okay, when I said stat, I was saying he's won on the same day.
So we get the point.
Technically, we were wrong because we said stat, but I heard it as.
All right, we botched that. We botched that. Okay.
Yep.
All right, that's okay. Sorry, Statman. It was a very cool stat, incredible stat. Here we go. Stat or fiction number 2. HAMMES has made more total career cash in events when he wins than total career cash in events when he does not win. So here's how I take that. You add up all the cash from your wins at events, and you compare that to all the cash you've ever earned that were at events you didn't win. Which one is more? So it says he has made. So if you're saying it's a stat, we're saying you have made more during your wins than anything else. Or if we're saying it's fiction, you have not.
I feel like it's fiction. I feel like I've made more outside of just the wins.
Okay.
How many wins do you think you have?
I think I have 25 or 26 wins.
And then,
But that's not pro wins.
Yeah,
How many pro wins I have?
you play a large number of events every single year.
Yeah, I play 20, 25.
These wins lately, though. I mean,
Okay.
I got Maple 45.
75.
75.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
We're going to talk about that. $7,500 at MVP. So here's the thing. Add that into your total. And so what do you say, Adam? Have you made more at wins or more in your total career outside of wins?
Total career.
Okay. So
I'm going to go with wins.
Your own wins? I don't think so. I feel like
Oh, boy. All
Bit of
right.
resistance.
I'm going to roll with Adam because I feel like he knows himself, and I'm just going to play that game. Here we go.
Be badass if he, especially after the last 2-3 years of getting some decent wins.
Okay. It is fiction, and this means Adam was correct. I was correct. Here's the backup for that. The backup is that your total cash wins was 24,722 plus MVP Open winnings. So maybe we're up to 30 something there, 31. I don't think it was posted when the stat was made, possibly. But your total cash in non-wins, you might know this. Any guess, Adam?
It's got to be like 40 or 50,000, right?
Okay, yes, $58,581. So,
Yeah.
But you're starting to catch up. You're starting to catch up.
It'd be nice to get the win money up to the total earned.
I want to know that for some more pros now.
Interesting.
You know,
Yeah. Well, we can assume safely that Paul Macbeth has earned more with wins than, well, maybe not. That's interesting. Okay. Here we go. Final one. Stat or fiction number 3. And speaking of Paul Macbeth, Paul Macbeth has the record for highest round rating ever in both Massachusetts and Vermont. So if we're looking at the highest rounds ever happening in Massachusetts, and if we're looking at the highest round ratings ever in Vermont, does Paul Macbeth hold both of those? I will start and say I only know answer to one of that, and I would say that yes, Maple Hill is one. His 45 at Maple Hill has to be the highest ever in Massachusetts. I only know one side of it. I don't know about Vermont. What's your reaction?
I'm going to go with no. I know Massachusetts, he has the highest one, but I think Vermont, I think Ricky does. He shot like an 11:08 rated round at GMC years ago. So I'm going to go with that'd be fiction.
Do you agree, Adam?
I'm on the same boat you're on. Like, I'm pretty sure that 45 has got to be the highest Massachusetts, but I don't know anything too much about highest rated GMC.
I think it was like 26.
Ricky throwing down 1,100 doesn't sound.
Well,
sounds right.
Ricky's also been playing this event since like 2013, when it used to.
That's true.
So I'm pretty sure
Ricky's dedicated to GMC.
I'm pretty sure Smashbox TV has a filmed round of just Ricky's shot where he says, I'm going to show you how to throw an 1100 rated round at Fox Run. And then he proceeds to throw like an 1108 rated round. So I'm going to say fiction because Ricky.
Yeah, I'm going to follow along with Nick. Fiction.
Okay. I can't make an answer because on accident I glanced. Here's the results. It is fiction. And fiction is supported by this stat. Highest Massachusetts round rating ever. We agree. 1121 Paul Macbeth, 2013 Vibram Open. Highest Vermont round rating ever. We were wrong. Paul Ulibarri, 2018 Worlds, 1092. Now, to bring into question what you guys brought up, Macbeth shot 1091 rated round. So he was literally 1 point off that rated round. So pretty much a dead heat. And that was 2019 GMC. So anyways, good rounds coming out of them. That is our stat or fiction. Statmando, by the way, is tracking these stats of how this game plays out. So we are now tracked our performances on the show. I don't know who won this time. Nick, do you feel like you won or Adam won?
No, I think Adam technically did. Yeah, because I don't know if I got one right.
Are we not counting the first one?
No, we don't count the first one. Technically, we were wrong.
Oh, yeah, that's tough. Yeah, I mean, but you guys.
That's far. He shot
three.
1100 rated round.
But I knew what you meant though. all right. Let's close it out here. We appreciated very much having Adam HAMMES on the Nick and Matt Show. So, Adam, we're going to let you have the closing words here. Anybody you'd like to shout out? Anything you'd like to thank? Your mom? Anybody? I don't know. Go for it. It's your microphone.
I'd like to thank you guys for the invite back right after the win. Definitely love being on the Nick and Matt Show. Thank you to Maple Hill. Thank you to MVP. Thank you to all the staff, Steve Dodge, everything that went into my favorite tournament of the year. It was awesome. Super pumped to take it down. And then, thank you to my sponsors, Discraft, Grip Equipment, and Resistance Discs. Wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Adam HAMMES. I mean, honestly, you are free to stick around as long as you want, but I think it's easier sometimes if you feel like you want to go to just go. It's up to you. But we're gonna.
I'm going back from dinner, so
great.
Yeah. He's gonna go party. He just made a crap ton of money.
Great.
I'm not going to party.
He's gonna go blow it all on the countless things that we have to do here in Vermont, which is practically nothing.
All right.
Yuli wants ping pong.
$100 ping pong matches.
Wow. Per point. Yeah, per point. All right. Thanks, Adam, for coming on. Go enjoy your dinner and good luck up there. We'll be following closely over here at the Nick and Matt Show. Peace.
Thanks, guys. All right, peace out, everybody.
All right. Nick?
I'm still looking at that stat. I'm pretty sure Ricky holds the highest rated round in Vermont.
Oh, boy.
Batman.
Imagine that in a stat or fiction game, the stat or fiction was wrong. Now we have to do stat or fiction on the stat or fiction game.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I got a stat or fiction of
statter. All right. Here's what I want to do real quick. I don't do this very often, but I met at Maple Hill today a fan of the show all the way from, ready, Nick? Scotland. Scotland, everybody.
Really?
He had the full Scottish accent. He was there with his dad. It was epic. A shout out to Fergus. It was really cool. So we've got fans all over, Nick.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about, and this is not going to be a long topic here, but live coverage on DGN. I have been nothing short of impressed the whole season. Like, absolutely awesome. Is it the best? Is it $1 million production like PGA or NFL or anybody else? No. But are they doing things that only those places do? They kind of are. Their replays, their camera angles, the quality, it's all really pretty good.
Yeah.
People tuning in for the Maple Hill. See, the name's changed so many times. The MVP Open for the first time are complaining. Wow, I'm going to cancel my subscription. I just signed up. I'm going back to Jomez.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, what's the cell phone coverage like? First of all, what's the cell phone coverage like at Maple Hill when you're there for a casual round with your phone?
Well, we noticed that during the practice rounds, hole 10, 11, 12 have awful service. You can't even check Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anything like that. So the cellular coverage out there, especially when it comes to like data and everything like that, is not great. And I think we're hitting a stretch of tournaments that we're going to struggle with that. Wooded courses are going to create these issues, and disc golf is not at a point yet to where I don't know anything about data towers, cell phone towers, and everything like that. So I don't know what the solution is for it, but I know that we are going to be in a bit of a rough patch. Hopefully the coverage out here is amazing because these courses are amazing to watch and amazing to see. But yeah, Maple Hill, it's not the best.
I guess my feeling, and just to wrap up this topic, because we talk about it fairly often, but it's coming up again because the coverage is a little stuttery, is what we'll say. Again, poor service. They do test runs at these venues, and they felt like, and they had talked to the cell providers, and everything seemed like it was going to be the best year yet. But when you also add hundreds more people at the venue than you've ever had, over 1,000 people on Maple Hill property, all of a sudden the cell providers look and go, that is a hot zone. We're literally seeing red all over that location, specifically in Leicester, and it just bogs down the network. They're going to work. They have plans already for the future. But if that's your first experience of DGN, I get it that you're bummed. But man, you can't base it off of that one event.
No, you can't.
It's a larger topic.
It is, because I think that's not going to get figured out for another 3 years, to be honest. And I think there are certain courses that are not, like Masters Cup, Santa Cruz, they can't run any live coverage out there because the coverage is so horrendous if they even tried to. They just can't. And that creates it to where now we're back on the post-produced train of, let's just wait for the post-produced coverage to come out and everything like that. So I think it's not an issue that's going to get solved this year. Maybe next year. I don't know. I know Jeff is trying to do a bunch of different things. And like you said, he's test running all these events to make sure that the coverage is good. But I think with the explosion and the expansion of the sport, we're going to struggle with more and more casual people, spectators, fans, and everything like that. And that's going to bog down the services like you were just talking about.
Yeah, and it is a much bigger conversation, like you said. Masters Cup out at De La, like they didn't even try because it was that bad. At least at Maple Hill, they're able to get most of it in, and with the multiple camera coverage, they're usually able to go somewhere on the course that you can still get coverage. I get it. If this wasn't my home course, I'd probably be maybe a little bit more skeptical of, the coverage, but like I generally think the product is good. It's going to continue to get better. It's part of the growing pains right now, but the network themselves are doing a great job. All right, Nick, let's talk about general reactions to UDisc, not rankings, but the standings from the MVP Open. And just generally, if you feel like, they got Maple Hilled, as in it got the best of them, or do you think just generally their performance is starting to, it was waning, like it declined just because they weren't playing well? I guess you can kind of understand what I'm saying. So let's talk down the list here. Paul Macbeth, 11th place. Any reaction to that?
I mean, he was struggling with shaping shots in the correct way. His putting was not great. I was talking to him throughout his final round, and one of his biggest issues was he couldn't string together more than 1 or 2 birdies at a time. And that was his issue all weekend. He said even the round that he shot 8 down, which was round 2, it was bogey-free. I don't think there's a turkey of birdies in there. And at Maple Hill, you kind of need that, especially you're not going to shoot every single round bogey-free. I don't know if that's ever happened to where someone shot 3 bogey-free rounds at Maple Hill, and I don't think it ever will happen. So at that course, you need to get as many birdies in a row as you can, and getting these small stretches like 3, 4, 5, or even 2, 3, 4, 5, and then going on to 10, 11, 12, getting birdie. There's just a couple stretches in there that you need to get at least 2 out of 3 of those birdies in order to shoot a good round without making mistakes on other holes too. Because every single hole, for the most part at that course has a bit of scoring separation. I was talking with some friends on my card mates who were some friends of mine, and we had kind of come to the realization, like a lot of these holes, they are score separated, which is awesome. But there are a few holes, like hole 4 is very easy to just get up and down for a par. If anyone wanted to play that hole for par, it's very easy. You just got to jump putt off the tee pad, make it past the first 4 trees, and then jump putt again, and you're at the basket. So, I mean, holes like that, I don't necessarily enjoy. I don't like holes that don't have a lot of scoring separation, but then the hole before it and the hole after it both can cause 2-stroke, 3-stroke swings just like that. I mean, hole 5, it's only, less than 300 feet, maybe 320 feet. No, not even probably. Less than a 300-foot par 3, and I think there was multiple 7s on it. So quadruple bogeys, triple bogeys, I took a double bogey on it in the first round. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of playing out how Maple Hill goes. So with that in mind, I'm going to give you some other names, and we can kind of just group it all together, probably just the same as what you were just saying, but let's talk about it. Chris Dickerson, 17th. Emerson Keith, 21. James Conrad, 21. Let's keep going down here. Nico, 29th. Garrett Gerthy, 29th. Paul Ulibarri, 29th. And these are kind of far down the list. Kevin Jones, 34th. And I'm skipping a lot of names here, just picking out some of these bigger names. Kyle Klein. Honestly, we've been talking about him, and I've even been on record somewhere saying, like, he's on, and this is one performance, I get it. But he's been on such a hot streak. I was like, he's on his way to becoming the next Eagle, meaning like he's on his track to do that. He probably still is, of course, but 40th place at an event that he actually came breaking out last year. This was the event. Kyle Klein taking 40th place. Let me see here real quick before I move on, get your reaction on this. If there's anyone else, Bradley Williams, he won this event. When was that? He won this event back in 2016. He goes to 57th place. And if I keep going down, Austin Hannum, who had a great round down in Delaware, 60th place, and so on and so forth. As I continue to go down, there's some names down the list that are surprising to see down where they are. Do you just generally say Maple Hill is a demanding course and you can't show up every single week?
Yeah, Maple Hill is a very demanding course. It's a very frustratingly demanding course to where, let's take hole 6, for example. It's a very, very hard par 3. A lot of players could throw a putter straight down the gap. But the thing is, even doing that, it leaves you a difficult second shot to where one little tree kick, it throws you OB. But if you try to power it off the tee, you have potential to get into birdie position, get a putt at it. But at the same time, there's so many trees and there's so many easy directions that can kick you into to an awful place that it makes the hole really, really difficult. 7 is the same way. There's no OB on 7. There's OB very early. But you hit one tree just slightly the wrong way, and it kicks you way right, you're probably walking away with a bogey. It's a very demanding course off the tee pad. I think every single year, whoever wins this event is dominating off of the tee pad. That's how it has to be done. I mean, I look at this like, James Conrad has won this event, right? Yeah, James Conrad, so I'm kind of surprised at his placing. Bradley Williams, he's won it in years past. But then also the Chris Dickerson one, who's such a great player in the woods. That just shows you that this course is hard. This course is demanding. You have to average over 1060 rated golf to win this tournament. And you got to be smooth off the tee pads.
Yeah, and so part of this conversation then goes to the idea, and I was able to be one of the guys asking questions in the press conference for the DGN, which, side note, we missed this part of our topic here with DGN. There's more than live coverage on DGN. There are legit other shows. We know Party Podcast. There's others, including cool features done by other media, artists, and all that stuff. It's not crazy to support them just for the other stuff as well. Long story short, go support them. But here's the follow-up in reaction to what you're saying, like players that have placed so well and have won in the past. It's not because it's a fluky course. It's just super demanding, and whoever shows up is going to get it done. So here's what I did in the press conference. I asked the question to some of the players. I don't remember exactly which ones, but the question is, do you feel like having 1 win or 2 wins on the Elite Series each year is going to be a big deal in the future? And maybe it's the transition right now. The PGA, if you win an event or 2 a year, big wins. That's all that matters. You keep going, you keep making your money. What do you think, Nick? Like, generally, do you think that's what's starting to happen with all the players in the sport, like competing for a win?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like we were just talking to Adam about it. He won $7,500 to throw a disc for 3 days and kick some ass while doing it. And so, yeah, I think in years past, with how big the Pro Tour is getting and how much they are improving, especially when it comes to what their qualification for out of cash is going to be at Pro Tour events. I think players are going to start making 8 to 9 to 10 grand per event. And I think in the future, I think there's going to be one event a year that is going to pay out just a ridiculous, like right now it's the Pro Tour Championships, but I think there's going to be another event every single year that pays out a ridiculous amount of money, is potentially a very top heavy paying tournament, which I want to see. I do want to see that one tournament be life changing for a player. I mean, the World Championships, James won $16,500 at it, and then sold a crap ton of discs on the side of it, and probably up to sponsorship contract. So I mean, winning Worlds is an absolute life changer in disc golf. But when it comes to Pro Tour events, yeah, I think winning 2 a year right now is pretty career changing, because then it also, as more players become open with their contracts, it's going to allow players to know their worth and know, like, say player A is making more than player B, but player B has more accolades over the last 2 years. Player B is not going to be able to say, hey, player A makes this, but he doesn't have any big wins. And I've won 3 Pro Tour Series events in the last 2 years. And so that's also, just winning events is going to help out with your manufacturer sponsor, which is, for a lot of people, the main source of income currently.
Yeah. And I just did the math, thanks to Stat Mando for providing the scores for all these players, breaking it down, a total of 158 for Adam HAMMES, and then Adam telling us what he made at this event, being 7,500. If you break it down, it's $47 and just about 50 cents per throw. Imagine that, if you could throw and almost make $50 for every throw at a tournament. Cha-ching.
Dude, that's awesome. Especially, imagine this, you get $50 to throw a shot bad.
Exactly. Even the OB stroke.
He missed the putt. He went OB on a hole, I'm sure. And he still made $50 off of it. That's awesome.
Ooh.
And that's only going to increase.
Statmando needs to break this one down. You're right. I'm just kidding. They don't need to go this far. But yes, OB strokes are technically not throws. It's like a penalty added on. So technically, Adam made more than $47.50 per throw.
Per throw, technically, yeah. Exactly.
Awesome.
Did we ever figure out what the question was earlier that I said, I wonder if this happened, and Evan sent us? Dude, I'm going to have to read. This will be like one of the few times that I re-listen to our podcast. I'm just going to have to, because I want to know what the hell I was talking about.
I know. We'll have to go back. Okay. Yeah. Before we move on, we're actually going to talk a lot of things MVP. Some of them are related to the larger picture at hand too in the disc golf world, but kind of came up at MVP. But before we get into some of those finer details, shout out to Gavin Babcock. He's a 1,003 rated player, so just really close to your level of play.
I played with him 2 rounds, the first 2 rounds.
Okay.
Super awesome, dude. Very nice.
He ended up finishing 68th place. But not here to talk about that. He got a hole-in-one, an ace on hole 16, 471 foot. People say that it's arguably farther than that, but long story short, 471 foot. If you recognize the number hole 16 at Maple Hill, it's because Kevin Jones slipped, fell, got the first ever on that hole ace ever on video, and went wild. Biggest ace of all time, people argued. Nick, you can't take it away from Kevin Jones, but somebody acing, just straight up acing that hole, 1,003 rated player, and obviously a good player. Does it take anything away from the fact that, like, wow, I guess other people can do it too? Like, what's your reaction to that ace?
No, I think any hole, for the most part, that's going to get aced is probably eventually going to get aced by someone else in some sort of fashion. So I don't think it takes anything away. Kevin's ace was incredible. It was on film. It made disc golf go viral for a while. And I still have people send me messages of like, hey, were you there at this moment? Like, I know this is your home course. Were you there? And so it's kind of cool. Even, a year later, people still send me messages about that. And then, I mean, incredible shot by Gavin to be able to do it in the tournament is pretty insane. I'm curious because I saw him throw the line twice, and he ended up over just off to the right side. I think he got up and down for 3 each round. So I'm just curious if he kind of did the same thing and just fought back and aced it. It's wild. It is a sick ace.
That's kind of my point is it just literally, well, that ace is just as sick as Kevin Jones' ace. Legit, it's an incredible ace. They both have this lure to them now. Like, wow.
I mean, if you want to get down to the particulars of it, Kevin did it while it was kind of raining outside.
It was a little wet.
yeah, it was a little wet out. I mean, you can't really get into the particulars that much.
No.
You know, they were both incredible aces. One of them was filmed, one of them wasn't, and you just kind of go from there.
Oh, Nick, thank you to the chat. The chat is coming in clutch. Nick, you were asking the hardest par threes on the Disc Golf Pro Tour or at Maple Hill.
Yeah. Is hole 6?
I don't know now. I might have lost the chat that far back, but we'll figure it out. Evan will, he has it tucked away. He'll text me or something. So the other thing, because Evan of Statmando is in our chat, which by the way, if you ever join our show live, you get to have fun time in the chat. Hey, people hate on us, people love on us, whatever. It's cool. Evan's in there tonight. He's saying that the highest previous cash payout per throw for Adam HAMMES was at Masters Cup, and it was like $33.85 per throw. So he beat that by like $14 per throw at MVP. So good job to him.
Do you remember on the Stat or Fiction what Yuli's round was rated in Vermont?
Yes. So he followed up. He followed up with this. So 1,092. Ricky has 1,091.
That's what it was. It was, but I'm pretty sure when. So you know how
official, unofficial,
official, unofficial. So I think that's what happened was Terry saw that it was an 1,100 rated round, so he came out with a video saying Ricky shoots 1,100 rated because everyone wants to watch that. I'm pretty sure I've watched the video like 5 times, and then when I went and looked, it said 1091. I was like, damn it, I can't prove him wrong. So
Statmando, Statmando. All right, they're winning in the battle of Nick versus Statmando. We'll have to keep track of that as well.
I don't know. We're 1-1 now. They gave me this Paul's made 120 grand and freaking Ledgestone. So we're 1-1 now, I think.
Excellent. All right. One other shout out to I think a fan of the show, self proclaimed, I believe, Stacy Ronsley. It was good meeting her in person. She's usually, and I say usually, she's often in the chat. She's listening as she drives down the road. In fact, Stacy, it was great meeting. If you're listening to this as you drive up to Vermont or wherever else you're going, good meeting you. Fun seeing you out there. Keep up the good work. All right, Nick, you ready? We talked to Adam about it. We got his feedback. We've seen other players in their social media follow-ups already of this event say a lot of nice things. Not everybody has, but a lot of nice things about the 8 holes. Let's set up the big picture here, if you will, of the future of disc golf. Does it include massive galleries on a hole being hyped up for the sport? Like, is this going to be a part of the future, or is it very specific to Maple Hill?
No, I definitely think it's going to be a part of the future. I think it's going to go around to the more golf style of people are buying seats in certain areas, certain standing areas, certain bleachers on certain holes of tournaments. I do like in disc golf right now that you can follow along with the lead card pretty closely. Some courses clearly have the advantage of spectator-wise. Let's say USDGC compared to Maple Hill. I mean, USDGC is, pretty much everyone's outside the ropes. Players are inside the ropes. And you can have a pretty large amount of spectators. Maple Hill is in a different situation to where certain holes you need a VIP badge. So I think Maple Hill was kind of, the pioneer of, and I could be totally wrong, I'm just saying it out of personal experience, of like, there were only a few years when I first started playing that I went out and watched every single hole. But there were many years that I went and just sat at hole 8, hole 14, or hole 18. And especially when I first started playing, hole 18 was just the place that everyone went. And it was really, really cool with a couple of the players sitting up top at the Sap House. So I think Maple Hill kind of gave that great idea of let's put people in certain areas. The 8 holes, I absolutely love them. I think it's great. I think it's a very nice hype moment because you could be teeing off, let's say the first round you're teeing off at 7 a.m. and there are people out there just ready to cheer you on, ready to give you the slow clap. It's funny, they announce your name, saying like, all right, next on the 7 a.m. tee time card is player A, B, C, and D, and then they all start cheering. And I think it's pretty awesome. But
so let me set you up. Let me set you up like this.
Well, I was going to say, you don't have to name names, but do you read any bad reviews on it?
Yeah. So let me just let me. Your reaction is great. Your thoughts are perfect. I think I followed a card. I'll just give you my firsthand experience where we're coming up hole 7, and obviously hole 7 is close to hole 8 for those who don't know. Like it should be pretty obvious, but the way it plays out, you're putting out and you're on the other side of the pond where the whole 8 holes are sitting. And at hole 7, I was following the card. They're up to the basket on hole 7 putting. And you hear, and I don't know if this changed throughout the week, but you hear the 8 holes starting to already call out like the next card to approach hole 8, which is the people putting on hole 7. So literally as, I don't remember the name of the player. Let's say it was James Conrad. Like as he's getting ready to putt on hole 7, you're hearing them cheer, James Conrad. And then they start like clapping and stuff like that. But they didn't recognize like they're putting on 7, but like it was that loud. It was like razzing the players putting on hole 7.
When I was walking down from 7 to 8, they didn't start saying anyone's name until they saw at least 2 of the players walking down past all of 8's different tee pads. And so no one was playing. I'm saying it for when I was playing. I'm not saying it didn't happen to someone. If it did, that sucks. Sorry it happened. But at the same time, like when I was going down that way, they did like, cause on Sundays I wear my white pants and I usually wear a black pullover with a blue polo. And, they said on the 9:30 a.m. tee time or card, yada, 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 and whatever. So they didn't say that until they saw 1 or 2 of us walking to hole 8's tee pad. So
I
think some people, and there's stuff to say because I'm not one of the best players in the world. I play well locally. I sometimes do okay out on the road. So for me, I just sometimes look at that. Like if someone, maybe they got top 20 and they missed 1 putt on hole 7 because someone started cheering on hole 8 because someone had a great drive. I think you're just almost like looking for an excuse. I don't like it when people are looking for excuses. And the negative things that I have heard about the 8 holes is like, oh, I was on hole 10 and could hear them all clapping for people on hole 8. I'm like, yeah, but that's like the same thing. If you teed off at 1 in the afternoon and lead card tees off at 1:45, you're going to hear the gallery when Ricky or Paul or Eagle or Adam hits a big putt. Why is that not the same way?
Nick,
so
good take.
Yeah, I think too many people just look for dumb excuses. There are plenty of excuses in disc golf that I think are actually great. Like injury is a great excuse. If you are injured, you have an excuse to be playing poorly. I think going into this tournament, you know that the 8 holes are a thing. You know that they're going to start cheering. You know that if there's a card on hole 8 and you're on hole 7 and they're about to throw their tee shots, and so you have to go ahead to throw your tee shots, you should probably wait for hole 8 to go so that when that person throws on hole 8, you're not going to get razzed on hole 7. If you choose to throw at the same time as them on hole 8, and they start cheering and yelling, get in the hole or get in bounds, you're just not smart for teeing off at that moment. So, like I said, the 8 holes are there. You know what they do. It's been a few years now since they started this. I personally love it. 0% of it at all was ever distracting to me when I was playing. And I birdied that hole 2 out of 3 times. I screwed up hole 7, but it wasn't because of the 8 holes. It was because I just sucked at throwing a backhand this weekend. So, like, I don't know. I find it kind of weird when people are like, oh, the 8 holes made me screw up this. I'm like, come on. No, they didn't. You screwed that up. I don't know.
Hey, that's a great point. I just want to bring up a few points in relation to like the future of the sport. As you said, like it's growing, but it's a thing here. And that's the topic of why it came up. There are PGA events people bring up in relation to that. Katrina Allen in the presser talked about it, and so did other players. I think Paul Macbeth and others saying, no, I think it's good for the sport. But Nick, somebody like razzing somebody, like legit, as they step up to hole 8, it's quiet, and then razz somebody right in their backswing. Like, do they have the right in that situation to blame it on that? I actually think yes.
Okay, yeah.
But I don't know that it means you shouldn't have a gallery, because that can happen in any sport. I mean, let's just take, I know it's a totally different environment, but the NFL, if you wait and everyone is quiet and then they're going to kick the field goal and you just like scream away flags like at the last second, like my takeaway and my take is that players are just going to have to get used to generally the distractions. Now, one caveat to that, one caveat. If somebody is doing that at an event and they are literally razzing the player right in their backswing, I think in the situation of golf or disc golf here, they should be kicked out of the venue if they are doing something unruly, if you will. But I still think the players are going to have to learn to play with it. Am I missing anything? I know you had a reaction.
So, well, I think it's kind of tough to compare football and disc golf in the sense of, let's take NBA, because I'm more, involved in the NBA life than I am the football life. So if someone's taking a free throw, like let's say Giannis is taking a free throw and it takes forever, the whole opposing team's fan base is razzing him the whole time that he's lining up that free throw. So I think in disc golf, like no one's getting razzed the whole time that they're lining up a putt. And I've never personally experienced a player getting razzed by a fan, out of nowhere, like last second or anything like that. I've never seen that happen. And did it happen this week? Is that why this is even being brought up?
It did not happen. Well, I'm not aware of a situation where it was literally in a backswing razzing, but there was a situation, and I will just say it was with James Conrad, where he stepped up, it got quiet. He was literally taking that breath, right before he throws, like right before. And someone goes, James Conrad, like, we love you. Like right in that moment, he could have reset. He could have reset. But I'm just saying, like, those moments, I'm not blaming all 8 holes for a bad experience. Like, I don't think I think things got better. I think the situation I brought up in the beginning where I said they were putting on hole 7, I think they literally probably learned like right away, because that was the first round. They're like, yeah, we need to wait. So like, I think they're great people. I think they add energy. I think it's just the topic for the show. Like, what's the future of it? I think it's an incredible thing that's happening at Maple Hill.
Yeah, and they're going to learn year in and year out what they can do that's, let's say, a more professional way of being in the gallery. They're going to learn that year in and year out. But I'll say this, and this is going to happen at every single event, especially with top players in the world, is like there was a kid who was following, I think it was hole 14, and Ricky was walking up. I think someone else Calvin was putting out of the woods, so Ricky was walking up to his putt. Before he even got to it, some kid was like, I love you, Rick. Or like, Rick, you're the best, or something like that. And so everyone just started like laughing. And it was like kind of that awkward moment where it was like, you should probably wait to say that until after he hits the putt or something like that. But Ricky just stepped back for a second, reset, went up to his lie, and jammed a 35-footer on hole 14. So if you're in your warm-up, your pre-shot routine, and someone says something or does something, like it happens to me, even just in casual events, to where like I don't mind noise going on, I don't mind conversation going on, as long as it's constant. I don't mind people walking around when I'm putting during casual rounds or even tournament rounds sometimes. Like it doesn't bother me. It's when it's something that's just very sudden. Like if someone comes out of the corner of my eye very suddenly, or if everyone's dead quiet and like I'm about to putt and someone sneezes, like they're not purposely trying to razz me. But I'll take a second. I'll reset from that. But to be honest, if like that shouldn't be the all-determining factor of why you messed up something. That to me, that's just another excuse. If you reset, you took your time, everyone's going to understand. Like you could take another 20 seconds after that happens, and no one's going to call you on a shot or like time clock violation or whatever, because they know, oh, someone just sneezed while he was lining up a putt and he reset. Like no one's going to call you on a time clock violation, whatever. So I don't know. I think if you're blaming stuff on that, it's just slightly, it sounds like excuses. I don't know. Like I think it's different for me because I'm not a top player in the world, but I've played a lot of big tournaments, and I've played in front of somewhat decent sized crowds, and I love it. The energy of people following along a card is very fun. But with that, there is always going to be people may think they're whispering, but they're not. You can hear them. And it's just going through the motions of like, you know what they're doing should not distract me at all from the shot that I have to hit right now. So I think when people are playing poorly, they look for a lot of different things to make excuses about. I've done it. I will continue to do it probably throughout my whole disc golf career. I try not to make a habit of it, but there's always going to be something that I'll probably blame why I messed up. But at the same time, you kind of sit out from the outside. It's different, though, because I'm not a top player in the world. If I was a top player in the world, I'd probably, I don't know. It's tough because when you watch the crowds, like for Paul's crowd and for Ricky's crowd and for the lead crowd at Maple Hill, like there's going to be distractions throughout the whole crowd of people. So I don't know. You can't fully blame an 8-hole on screwing up your shot. Hole 8's tee shot is really hard. Putting on hole 8 is usually pretty hard. It's not the spectator's fault. I'll just say that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I observed a player, asking other players multiple times during the round, "Hey, can you please be quiet?" Like a player looking off as they get on the tee pad to here's the thing. They can do that. They have the right to do that. They should ask for that if they think their mental game isn't able to handle it.
Yeah.
But it's going to be part of the sport. I saw Eagle I think it was the final round 3. I think maybe it was round 2. I don't remember now. But he looked back to a photographer who had the sound of the shutter for their camera on. And it wasn't even when Eagle was throwing. It was when another player was throwing. And you could tell Eagle was thinking about it like, it's going to happen when I go to throw. So he turns around and says, "Can you put that on silent shutter, please?" But
what is okay? Now I've seen this happen way too many times. I was playing an event in Richmond with Brian Schweberger, and I was first to tee. I teed, heard the shutter of the camera. Like I said, it didn't bother me. It was whatever. But Schwebby was like, if that's going to be all day, he's like, I don't want any pictures taken of me. So you're a photographer, or you used to be. Like, why don't people always have it on silent shutter?
Well, first of all, every camera that is an SLR, meaning it actually has a mechanical movement inside. That's what you're hearing. Okay. Not every camera allows you to shut that off. The nicer cameras do allow you to shut that off for situations like when you need to be quiet or sneak a photo, but not every camera does. And the other answer is lack of experience at sporting venues, especially when you're up close like this. So throw a zoom lens on there, stand farther away, then your shutter's not going to distract the player. It does happen. Again, lack of experience, and not every camera can do it. That should be, though, it should be interesting. That could be a part of the form that gets signed by media when they come on, like, hey, you will use a silent shutter, or you'll be generally far away if you don't.
Yeah, exactly. In a different spot. I remember there's a video coverage of Calvin, and I think James Conrad was on the card too. It was just more of like a localish tournament, nothing major, but there was a new photographer out there who was taking pictures, I think, for like the town newspaper. And Calvin was putting from only like 10 or 15 feet. But all of a sudden, when he was coming up with his putt, like literally about to release it, all you hear is click, 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 and he completely shanks the putt like straight into the ground. And he was like, "Yeah, no, that's done. Like, no, get out of here." And it was, I think Ian Anderson is doing commentary on it too, and talks like he had to actually talk to the person who was taking the pictures. So,
someone in the chat brings up a great point. So I want to hit it real quick is, when you're making your living off of this, there's a different pressure to it. And so those moments with distractions, you want any advantage you can. And if that to you is a distraction, then it's a big deal. And that's obviously a lot of these players who are at top, let's just say top 20 at this point. Like, hey, could you please not do that because this is my livelihood. That's number one.
Yeah.
The other side of it is now just for the fun. People, this is not to make the point that we've just been talking about. But in the chat, go ahead and let me know. Do you mind if people are talking, people are laughing, people are crunching chips or opening bags of candy or whatever it is while you're getting ready to throw? Or do you ask for people to stay quiet? Like, please, you readjust, you ask them to be quiet, I'm going to tee. And this is for those players who are not making it their livelihood. So I will give you my answer. And Nick, you're going to try to make it your livelihood. But like right now, it's not. For me, I'll answer for me. I don't mind any noise at all as long as it's not quiet. Like there's two situations where it's noisy, and then it's noisy. And then I go to throw and like it gets quiet, like right in my backswing. It's the opposite. It's like, hush.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
or if they're like quiet, 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 and then they start talking like immediately in my backswing. I generally don't care if there's distractions constantly. I'm able to play through that. I'm an amateur. For me, it's not a big deal. How do you feel about distractions? You said you didn't mind camera shutter noise.
No, I mean, so like that, because that's sudden. That's different because most camera people are taking action shots of when you're throwing, and so that one comes up sudden. I don't think I knew it was going to happen, so I think that was a little bit different. When Schwebe was throwing second, he knew that that was going to happen, so that already played into his head a little bit. So that's why he was like, "Hey, no pictures." For me, I think, like I said earlier, I don't like silence and then like a dog bark in the background right when I'm in my backswing or right when I'm putting. But if there's dogs barking or people talking or a train horn going off or something like that and it's constant, I don't mind it. I'll putt through that. I'll drive through that because I know the noise is there. That's just one other element that, okay, that's there, and I just have to put that in the back seat really quick. I got to put that over there. So I don't know. I think it comes from being a pretty big casual player into playing some big events and locally doing decently well at local events to where every tournament's different. Your card mates are always going to be different. B tier that I won this year, I made sure that I distanced myself from the card because I was really, really just wanting to like focus on only me. And so I barely had conversation with my card mates until I felt like I was in a spot to where, okay, I'm playing well. I'm ready to kind of like let loose a little bit. Like I wanted to see what it would be like if I just straight up was like, you know, not rude. You know, I would have slight casual conversation, but I wanted to see what it would be like if I really just took it beyond seriously of like, I'm not going to talk to my card mates. But then the second round, we joked and laughed and, you know, had a good time. So it's weird. It all depends on the tournament, I guess. But generally speaking, I don't mind conversation. I don't mind noises if they're constant. I don't like sudden stuff. But I also know that if I'm expecting something, you know, when I'm out at Maple Hill playing the MVP Open, I'm expecting every so often for the 8 holes to go berserk about something. And I know that going from, you know, hole 1 through 10, that is going to be a noise that's going to happen. Hole 11 through 15, I know that I'm going to hear people from hole 8 and I'm going to hear people from hole 14. It's just something that, like, you know, it's going to happen. I mean, if you hear one cheer, you usually got about 15 or 20 seconds before you hear another one. And that's kind of, you know, how I'll end that.
All right. I don't mean to give content to the Bogey Bros or anybody else, but man, it would be funny to do like a punked version of like disc golf round where you run up with like the air horn right in someone's backswing. You pop out from behind a bush, like right as someone goes to throw. Obviously not in a real situation, but like it could be funny content. The other thing someone said in the chat, funny, they're like, just don't make me laugh like right before I'm throwing.
Yeah. I hated because I lose all of my energy when I start laughing. So yeah, that's when I'll actually have to like take a second and recoup my thoughts. But for me, I'll just rethink about what that person just said and start laughing again. So where if you make me laugh before a tee shot, I'm screwed. It's going OB. I'm not going to throw it anywhere. It's done.
And then the follow up to that is I don't want to hear people laughing after I throw either, because obviously that's embarrassing.
I think if it's my friends laughing at my throw, I don't care. I don't think I've ever had someone who I didn't know laugh at my throw. At least, not that I heard. There were plenty of, like, I don't know. I was playing with Paul earlier. We were just running through a couple holes here at Fox Run. And if I throw a bad shot, he's like, oh my God, or something like he's a savage about it sometimes, to where he doesn't have any filter. If you throw a bad shot, he'll let you know. So you kind of have to get used to that, to where if I can be embarrassing around him and around Hannah and around other, you know, these top professionals that I've had the pleasure of playing casual rounds with, I can be embarrassed in front of anyone at this point. I don't know. I felt bad when I threw a bad shot. My dad was caddying for me. Shout out to my dad, my mom, my sister. They came out my last round at MVP Open. And so my dad was caddying for me for like the first 11 holes, and then my sister took the bag for a couple holes. It was awesome. But like, I threw a shot on hole 14 that just went straight up in the air, hit one of the branches, and had zero chance of going in the water. And that was more embarrassing than throwing a bad shot in front of just a group of disc golfers. It was like, hey, Mom, this is what I love doing, and this is what I try to do, but watch me suck at it this weekend. So, I don't know. That was more embarrassing.
Yeah. So again, I'm an amateur level. It's not a big deal to me. I'm frustrated. I'm a competitor. I love competing, and like I hate any disadvantages. But to your point earlier, there are few and far between situations where you really have the right to blame somebody else. I mean, if they're coming over and hitting you in the leg with something as you're throwing, then cool. Like that's legit. But
yeah,
otherwise, I think my take on it is, yeah, we're going to just have to get used to generally distractions. Most major sporting events have distractions. Again, unruly people should get taken care of, however that works, but you still got to get used to it. All right, Nick, let's move into a topic here on, and I don't know how much you actually got to do this, but is tailgating. Did you see the tailgating zone, if you will, at the MVP Open? And for the chat, have you ever had tailgating, like legitimate, not like in the parking lot, like tailgating at the course on a fairway for a disc golf event?
The fairway.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Like, wasn't like in the middle of hole 18's fairway. Yeah, it was off to the left-hand side, which is an out-of-bounds area, has been for years. Dude, I thought it was awesome. They had a bunch of signs. Jeremy from Capital Discs was out there. He was, cheering a bunch of people on. He's said hi to me, cooked me up some food actually after the last round, which was super sweet. Family friend of ours named Jason, he was out there and he made me this funny sign that said Nick Carl, and then obviously was on the second one. So that made me laugh the last round. Sunstein was out there as well. Steve from Sunstein was, had some appetizers, food, and everything like that. So after the round, going over there and hanging out, it was actually a pretty sweet time. That's what I've really always liked about Maple Hill, was that after your round, whether you played well or if you played bad, there's a fun time to be had afterwards. There's a great beer company vending food. A bunch of the locals here beer company vending beer. There's a bunch of people cooking up food right over, going towards hole one's tee pad. And there's just so many fun things to do afterwards. The camaraderie and the hangout of it all is great. And I think the tailgating actually added a whole different vibe to it. I think the vibe was awesome. They had grills. Like I said, they cooked up some, it was like pork tenderloins and then some sirloin. It was sweet, dude. It was awesome.
Yeah, and you would see like notable players being invited to these tailgate sections, which I will throw out the number. I think I heard, it's unofficial, but I think it was like $1,500 for one of these sections to be able to tailgate. You would get 8 VIP tickets that you could give out to people that you wanted to walk. They could walk around the whole event anywhere they wanted to as a VIP. But my understanding is the tailgaters, you could invite anybody to your tailgate section. They could stay at your tailgate section. I don't know if there's a number limit on that, if you could bring 50 people, but they could stay at your tailgate section. And the food that was getting cooked up, a shout out to a guy named Craig. He's local to Massachusetts, but this was my first time meeting him. He's got a YouTube channel. I think it's called BBQ It, as in barbecue it. The dude was smoking ribs all weekend and like just chill, hanging out. I thought it was tremendous. Great way for the venue to get more income to be able to distribute to make the event better. Very cool. Again, I was just curious if anybody else had ever done that before. I had not seen it.
It was sweet. It was a very, very fun time. I enjoyed it a lot. And I think that's what Maple Hill the MVP Open continues to improve on, is adding these different things to make the event that much better for not just the players, but for the spectators and the volunteer staff and everything like that. It's incredible seeing where it was 8 years ago, which I think was my first time. No, 9 years ago. In 2012 was my first time going to it. I think I watched Kale win, and then I watched Paul win. I watched Ricky lose. Like, I mean, it's awesome to see where it is now compared to what it was back then.
Totally. All right, Nick, we're moving into a topic that has received great, wow, I said that really crazy, great controversy. You ready? Dun, 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 dun. Let me get a little heartbeat in here. Okay, Nick, the people want to know, is surfing wax legit? Is it in your bag? Did it help your game out?
No. I did like the surfing wax. My favorite one of those was the Pelican grip though, and I actually do want to experience with it a little bit more. And it feels really weird to say that because I feel like it's something that's super controversial, but at the same time, it's not, because it's not illegal in the sport of, like, in the PDGA, it's not illegal. So I'm genuinely curious. I think I actually might test it out in the off season. A couple different brands of it, or a couple different styles of the Pelican grip, and yeah, I don't know. Like, it felt cool. I don't know if I just threw it harder or if I actually felt like I had more grip on the disc. I definitely had more grip on the disc. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But I'm curious mostly on how it's going to be for putting. So that's what I'm kind of like nervous on. You know what I mean? Or how it is in the rain. I think next time I use Pelican grip, I'm going to try it out in the rain down in Virginia, just for fun.
Yeah, and just real quick, I could elaborate it, or you can, but it was on Paul Macbeth's YouTube channel. You collaborated with him, or you were invited, however you want to say it. Just tell people real quick what the storyline for that video was. They can go check it out, but that's what we're talking about.
So Paul had this idea of, like, because Paul's super into baseball. He was a baseball player growing up, has some friends that are in the MLB, and you can see the huge storyline. One of the big storylines this year in the MLB is they've been checking players for pine tar and sticky stuff of helping out pitchers create more spin, velocity, and everything like that on their pitching. So Paul had the funny idea of where the PDGA does not have any of these items listed as you can't use them. So let's make a fun, controversial video of, do any of these things actually help out in disc golf? And so that's where the idea came from. So there was 5 different types of sticky substances. There was a rosin, surfer's wax, Pelican grip, spider grip, and then there was one other one in a white tube. I can't remember the name of it, but
Tiger something, or Tiger something maybe. I don't remember.
Yeah, it might have been Tiger something. I forget, because I didn't like that one. The rosin sucked. What's funny about the rosin is the rosin was actually the best for getting off the other grip. Like, in order to get the sticky stuff off, if you actually used the rosin, it worked magically. It was great, and it was a really struggle. Like, one of my discs that I used in that video is still completely covered in just crap because of it. Especially the spider stuff was disgustingly sticky. But the surfer's wax was good. It was actually a lot stickier than I thought it would be. But the Pelican was like that very happy medium to where I didn't feel like I was going to grip lock the disc. So I actually felt like I had control over it. And I actually do feel like you can hear Paul say in the video, did you hear that come out of his hand? Or, like, did you hear that? And to where it was like, oh, maybe this actually does kind of help out. But I don't know. I'm not going to try it until the off season where I'll actually give it a go.
Yeah, I overheard, or I was talking with Paul. One of the conversations that came up at MVP was he said something along the lines of, like, fans were already asking him, like, do you have some of that in your bag right now? And he kind of laughed. He's like, no, of course I don't. But the way the video is played out, it seems to expose, I'm doing quotes here, expose, like, loopholes in the PDGA where it's like, well, we can gain advantages that nobody else is thinking of. But Paul, I feel like Paul has done this before with something else in his career. I wish I could go back and remember it. If you remember it and you're listening, send us a message. But where it was like he started doing something, and then, like, the next year the PDGA, like, made a rule. It was like, no, that can't be done. Maybe I'm making it up.
Ask him. He's literally, like, right out there. I'm gonna ask him really quick.
He won't remember it. Well, maybe he will.
I'll text him. Put it up on your screen.
Be like, yo, have you ever done anything controversial that the PDGA made a rule about? That's probably the easiest way to say it. So I thought generally the video is very funny, Nick, and it's cool that you're able to do videos with Paul Macbeth. Hannah filming, that's a good time down there in Virginia. I thought it was interesting and intriguing, and I think what you said, like, the disc is going to get the buildup of grip on it, and you're going to be like, oh, this disc now is just coated, and then it's going to be altered, and that's actually illegal to alter, you know, with a texture or anything on your discs. So I don't know that it's actually a great thing, but I think it's interesting, and nobody else had done that I'm aware of, and I was
Yeah,
intrigued. I think it was
it was
cool.
it was a super fun video. Excuse me, super fun video to make, and sorry, I just got a text back and it made me laugh. But it was a super fun video to make. Hannah does an incredible job editing it and making it fun for viewers to watch and everything like that. But we literally picked a day where it was like 100 degrees. It was disgustingly hot, and I'm not someone who sweats a ton, and I was dripping sweat, and it was literally the perfect day to do this video of sticky substances to see if they would actually help out. And the first one that I actually felt like did help out was the Surfer's Wax, and then when I got the Pelican Grip, that one was actually pretty fire. That was good.
Yeah, the chat brings up a quick question of like, well, what about like putting, dry powder on your disc to dry it off? Is that altering, the texture of the disc? I forget how the PDGA words it, but it has something to do with the idea that it's like you can perceive the difference, or it literally alters like. So if you do a Sharpie on a disc, is my point. I'm getting the words out. If you do a Sharpie on a disc, that does technically, scientifically, at a microbial level, or however you want to say that. Yes, it does, but like that's not what they're talking about. So I don't think powder on a disc would do that. But if you started building up like a pine tar, like regularly on the disc, like that would eventually alter the disc. But
the thing is that if you were to use the Pelican Grip or a pine tar or something like that, you wouldn't coat the disc in it. You would use your hand and use a stupidly small amount, or you would put it on a towel, or like pitchers will, back in the day, they would put it on their hat or put it inside their glove to where they're only getting like a very minuscule amount of it, and it's just to help them out for that one throw. And so you're constantly doing that to where it's not really building up on the disc itself. At least I don't think so. I haven't tried it for more than one day. The only reason that anything got built up, there's a pink Zeus that I friggin' turned over right into the woods. The only reason that has a ton of crap on it is because one, I haven't cleaned it off, and two, because we went back to back to back to back to back of using these substances with hardly any way of cleaning them off our hands. And so it was like, I went from this really sticky stuff called the Pelican Grip, and let me just use that on my disc, and I kind of move my hand around before I throw it, and then it's like, let me use the spider stuff, which is stupidly sticky. And for the video, I was using probably a little bit more than I should have, but that's the fun part about the video.
I think I texted you if you can confirm. I was like, bro, I'm watching your video right now, and I'm like, it's making me laugh.
Yeah, dude, it was fun. I love doing videos with them. It's a very fun time. The commercial we did for Celsius at the beginning, which was funny, and people were getting a kick out of it, even with horrible acting.
I know. I know it's with Paul down there. You're going to get a lot more attention. You'll get a lot more attention than doing the Nick and Matt show. But man, if you were still back up here, man, we could be going crazy with videos too. So it will still happen. It will happen. All right. I have generally something that's probably not surprising, but just to start the topic, because Nick, at the MVP Open, I will say that is the most amount of fans that I have ever met from our show, ever. It was, I want to send all the love out to those fans because you were there and you took the time to say, hey, Matt, or hey, Nick. In fact, Nick, one time I was walking down one of the holes and someone said, yeah, Nick. And I'm like, I wave and they're like, their buddy like elbows them like, that's Matt, dummy. Like, but the amount of love that came our way in just regards to fans who appreciate the show. There's one guy who told me, I fall asleep listening to your show. And I'm like, is that a good thing?
Sorry. Yeah, sorry you have to listen to me and Matt.
So
hey, if it works out, if it makes you fall asleep, that's great.
So
we come out with episodes almost every single week, so this is perfect.
So lullaby and good night. So he's falling asleep now.
Yeah.
But they fall asleep, or they drive hours a day commuting to work, or they drive 10 minutes a day and they say our show lasts them all a week. But like the amount of love was just so cool to know that when we talk into these microphones, there are people on the other end who are actually appreciating this. It seems to be that people who usually, have hot topics or want to do hot takes will be the ones to comment. But all the people who are sitting there listening that enjoy the show, it means a million when you guys go out of your way to let us know that you like the show or you support the show or whatever it is. Even if you make fun of it in person and it was all in good fun, like someone looked out and they're like, judge that disc golfer. Like, and I'm like, get over here. I'll judge you.
Yeah, exactly. No, I had a bunch of people. I remember I was walking with Paul's car for a little bit, and then I had to walk up to the hangout area by 18 to grab something. And I was walking by the pretty big crowd of people that were walking, and a ton of people were like, yo, what up, Nicole? What up, Nicole? And then so I'd say hi to everyone. And then a bunch of people were just like, dude, love your show. It's incredible. It's my favorite show out there. It's so great. It's so awesome. And it's super appreciative because, like, I'll say this, and we've said it 100 times probably at this point. We kind of looked at this as like, hey, let's just give it a go. You know, let's try to create this fun show. And, you know, Matt, you're obviously the main reason that the effects of this show get created. You produce the show, you do all the media stuff for the show. I just try to get guests on every so often. And it's really cool to see people actually appreciate it. Because it doesn't seem like it's a lot of work, but at least Matt puts in a stupid amount of hours into giving people a fun show. And it's very fun to co-host as well. It's very fun.
All right. We're not announcing like our departure. And we're like, it was good knowing everybody.
I'm just kidding.
Peace out. Nick goes, actually, I'm going to surprise you live on air, Matt. Peace out. This is the last one. Mic drop.
This is the Josh and Matt show now. So,
well, a few other topics. Let's see where we get to with this. And it was, I feel like if you just kind of put on your like future hat and you try to feel what's happening out there in the disc golf world, you might start to get this feeling. And I feel like I started getting this feeling earlier this year where I said on the show somewhere, I think the NT is probably going away at some point here in the near future. That was one of my takes. I still stand by. In fact, I feel like I'm hearing enough. And believe me, I'm not actually hearing any inside scoops, but I'm putting the puzzle pieces together with conversations that I hear, with social media stuff that I'm seeing. A lot of things feel like it's coming together where I'm like, if I had to roll the dice, I'm still standing confident with that it's going to be sooner than later. And if I had to make a pick, it's next year. But everybody, I'm speculating. Now, with that speculation in mind, Nick, here's the topic. If this happens, it may not happen. If it happens, what NT events would get swallowed up by the Disc Golf Pro Tour and maybe which ones wouldn't? And they would just kind of, the events might stay, but they wouldn't be on the Elite Series level. Do you have any idea? I can give you a list of the events so you can decide. Texas States, Dynamic Disc Open, Master.
That'll stay.
Okay, yeah, let's react to it that way. So Texas State, what do you think?
States, I don't think will stay.
Okay,
I
if
think
this
that'll be
happens.
Yep.
Okay, if this happens. Oh, did you say it might be a Silver Series?
Yeah, so I'm going to say whether it stays, goes to a Silver Series, or jumps up to a Pro Tour. But I think at best that one will be a Silver Series. It didn't seem like it was. I have to remember that's the tournament Casey was doing really well at, correct?
Yes.
It didn't seem like it was an incredible course. I didn't look at it as one that I necessarily want to go play. I'd have to rewatch the coverage, but I'm going to say Silver Series for that one if it gets wrapped in.
Okay. Yeah, I like that you added in, well, maybe it would become a Silver Series. I actually hadn't thought of that. And for everyone who's listening, you're getting the general reactions yourself the same way Nick is. Nick did not go through this segment with me.
And this is also something that we have no idea is going to happen. So I don't want anyone clickbaiting some stupid article saying, oh, Nick and Matt show release hot topic of Disc Golf Pro Tour taking the national tour. We have no idea.
Yeah,
There are pros who would like that. If you listen to the Disc Golf Network press conference, there is a very, very well-known pro who says the Pro Tour or the national tour just needs to let go and let the Pro Tour take over. I'm not going to say who.
Well,
go watch it.
It's public in the press conference, Paige Pierce. And she actually, interestingly enough, I feel like this was the first time I had heard her say, she was like, I don't think I'm taking it fully out of context. She said silent, like protest, if you will. She was kind of saying like, that's how you could describe her not playing NTs. Anyways, it's things like that I'm hearing, and she's a big voice. and just generally other things that I'm just piecing and I'm trying to speculate. That's what we do, or that's what I do. You said Texas State. Let's talk about Dynamic Disc Open. Would that stay?
DDO will go right back to a Pro Tour. I think that event's, from what it seems like, is an incredible event. I don't care for the courses at all, but I think that'll go to a Pro Tour.
Okay, next up would be Masters Cup at De La.
I think that'll go to a Silver Series. And the reason I say that is because at Silver Series, they don't do live coverage except for the final day. And because of all the technical issues that happen at De La, I think that'll go down to a Silver Series. Unless they can somehow figure out the parking situation out there and everything like that, I can't imagine that's going to be an Elite Series event next year.
Okay, Beaver State Fling. I've never been up there. I've heard amazing things. What do you think?
I don't even think that event is going to happen next year from what I've kind of been hearing. So
What?
I have no idea.
Do I need the breaking news for that now? What do you know?
I mean, I just hear kind of like word of mouth that Oregon's being super stingy about a bunch of crap, and then at the same time, whatever Parks and Rec department is up there, the place is kind of overgrown and everything like that. And if a tournament was to happen there, I'm sure they would fix everything up super duper quickly and everything like that. I have no doubt about it. But it kind of seems like that might not, because we're going on 2 years now that event didn't happen, right?
Yeah, that's
so. I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't even be surprised if it didn't happen for a third year. Let's say COVID gets the American Airlines variant of it, you know?
Yeah. That's I'm reacting to it because in my head I know so many players who say that is a dream course, like amazing, like their favorite in the world. Like, so that's kind of weird to hear that, but if it's out of their hands, it's out of their hands. All right. Delaware Disc Golf Challenge. We just saw it. That very wooded course. What do you think?
I think that'll go to a Silver Series, or I don't know. I don't know. I don't see that one. I don't see that one being a massive event every single year. Maybe though. Maybe.
Okay. And honestly, there aren't as many as the Disc Golf Pro Tour events anyways, but here's the final one. And I've known this event for a long time. I've never been down there. I don't even know if I've probably watched some coverage, but Music City Open in Nashville, Tennessee. That's coming up actually in a few weeks.
Yeah, I have no idea about that one. I don't know anything about how the course is. I don't know anything about how the venue is. So I'll re-answer this question in like 3 weeks.
Okay. And then,
yeah.
And then just to wrap this up, because we're on the topic, do you think there are any Disc Golf Pro Tour events? We haven't even made it to the end of the season yet, but any Disc Golf Pro Tour events that happened this year that just, it's based off of your preference, like your opinion. I'm not saying you're making a call on what should be removed, but like that may not be back next year. Was there anything that stood out to you?
For the venue that they played Portland Open at, that might change. I have to think of the Pro Tours now.
Yeah.
Vegas.
How about?
It sucks because it's the kickoff tournament of the year, but I hate the fact that it's 3 courses. I would love it. That tournament would be very fun if we only had to learn, not learn, but if we only had to play the Innova Factory Store course and the Innova course out there. I don't care for the Infinite course. Let whoever else play that one. I don't think 3 courses is good. I like 2 courses for events. I really do. I'm literally sitting at my favorite event of the year, and the courses are both right next to each other, and I love it. It's my favorite disc golf complex out there. But yeah, 3 courses is just a little too much. So Vegas would be weird. It'll be back next year, though. I can't imagine it wouldn't be.
So
I don't know. I have to think of them all. Because like a bunch of these Pro Tour events are so established now. Like Waco isn't, a lot of courses that we play throughout the year, a lot of courses that the pros play throughout the year is, a majority bomber courses. You got to have a big arm to go there. Waco is one of the few courses that you don't need 500 feet of power. You can kind of get away with just being a silky smooth player in the woods. I think we've seen that just in years past. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be really hard to tell what's going to get bumped and what's not going to get bumped.
If I do a quick review of the Disc Golf Pro Tour events, nothing stands out to me. You made some good points. I think those would be the only ones. Des Moines being new this year, but I think we have to quickly add. Are there?
Ran and I heard Des Moines was an incredible event.
Okay, I think we need to ask: would there be any events that are missing that could be added? And I would immediately go to, once Europe's back open, there's going to be European tour events on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. They've already had them planned. So, I mean, we can expect to see those. If the NT, again, full speculation. This is not clickbait. This is not us with inside scoop. I'm doing what anybody else could do, just feeling out what I hear and what I see. If it happens, which NT events might get brought over? We talked about that. I think it's doing a good job. I like the Disc Golf Pro Tour selection process. The Silver Series is where they enter, they see how they run them, and then turn them into something. So
I really wish Hall of Fame Classic would come back, the tournament down in Georgia at IDGC. I love that course. I think it's incredibly fun to play. I would love that event back.
What about if they swapped out, and this is, again, my perspective, the Disc Golf Pro Tour finale? I personally just don't have the feels of, oh, I love it at Hornets Nest. That's just how I feel. I have not played there. The players, I haven't heard complaining about it. Maybe you have. But I think something like the Disc Golf, International Disc Golf Center or wherever, like, there's probably another venue that I'd like to see it at, the finale. What do you think about that?
I agree. There's a venue right in New London, Virginia that just had this awesome, spectacular course built on it that I think that would be great for the Pro Tour Championships. And I have heard other people say the same thing. I don't know. I can't remember the last time that I watched coverage of Hornets Nest. So I played Hornets Nest back in 2017. And I remember it was fun. It was kind of cool to go see where Paul won his first Worlds for that Final 9, which some of the holes I'm pretty sure have changed now. But I don't know. I loved it when it was up here in Vermont. I mean, I obsess over this place. So I would love every single event to be here. But yeah, I would love it. I think the same thing should be potentially said about Worlds, though. I would love it if Worlds was in the same place like 2 years in a row, and then go to the next one, and then go to the next one, or something like that. I think that'd be kind of cool. But it's weird.
Those are some good takes, Nick. You're bringing all the inside scoops. No, you're bringing your opinion. That's great. Yeah. All right. As we get very close to wrapping up here, as we usually do, I thought we'd provide you some interesting stats provided by Statmando, and I wanted to talk just a little bit about our partners at Statmando and what they were doing at the MVP Open this weekend at the tournament. They had their team. They created some apps, internal apps for them to use to track literally every throw, and not just, hey, how did the hole play out? Not, did they land off the fairway? Did they land in circle one? Not just that. They tracked the speed of the throws off the tee pad for a throw, and then what the player did for that throw. Did they throw backhand? Did they throw forehand? Did they throw lefty? Did they throw righty? Did they throw righty forehand or lefty like, they tracked everything about the throw, and then where it specifically landed on the fairway or off the fairway in this app, again, graphed out so that they could literally show, if you land in this portion of the fairway at this point, here's how many players did exactly that. And you ever see, Nick, during a basketball game, during like halftime, they'll show you where all the shots happen from?
Yeah. And
it's like a game of Candyland. I mean, there's just shots everywhere, but you can start to see little pockets, right? And you can say, oh, from here is where the 3-pointers happen, or from here, whatever. Yep. And they're doing that. And I already got a quick look, and I don't know when they're going to roll it out. I'm going to work with them on some graphics. But they can show you on certain holes, like, here's how it plays out. The percentage of birdies, if you throw backhand, is way higher than forehand. If you land on this portion of the fairway, this is the only place people get birdies from. So if you're over here, you probably shouldn't even go for it. I mean, the way the stats are going to play out, it's going to change the game. That's my opinion.
Yep.
So let me give you some of these stats just to give you an inside scoop into how it looked. In round 1, on hole 8, the one over the water, people are probably familiar with it at this point, 82% of the MPO through righty backhand. That's like so many of the players, righty backhand. But 53%, more than half, went out of bounds. And you could stop and say, well, is that a bad hole then? Like, if that's how it is. But
it's just a hard hole.
Okay. It's just a hard hole. So if you look at it this way, 11% of the MPO, that's a very small percent, right? Through a righty forehand. Nick, you did that, right?
I did all 3 rounds.
Okay. This shows here only 37% went OB. So a 12%, 13% less people went out of bounds throwing forehand. And we can look at the birdie percentage here too. Well, let me call this out first. 7% of MPO threw a lefty backhand. So lefty backhand, 50% went OB. So it seems to be, that's interesting because forehands didn't go as much, but lefty backhands did. I think you could speculate on the quality of the player throwing lefty. I don't know. But,
maybe, yeah.
But here's how it played out. Ready? Off of those throw selections. Round 1, hole 8, birdies by throw and type. So if you threw righty backhand, 32% of those players birdied the hole. If you threw righty forehand, which is what you did, 11% more birdies, 43% birdied. So, Nick, you somehow, talk me through it. You chose that was the higher percentage play. What went through your head more than the 80% of players who threw it backhand and didn't do as well?
In practice, it was my first time seeing the new hole this year, was in a practice round. And I remember I threw my Onyx, and I threw it like 50 feet short. Granted, the wind was not really in my favor, but I felt like I actually threw it decently well. So then I threw another shot, and then I threw it like 30 feet short. And I was like, okay, I'm struggling on this hole, and that's not a good sign. That's going to suck for this weekend, because I'm pretty sure last year I played that hole over par when it was actually an easier pad. And I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to just blast a forehand nuke. And so my first shot with it, I kind of knifed it over an ESP nuke. And I went like long left, but I easily cleared the water to where I was like, oh, I just have to throw that flat instead of turned over, and I feel like I can get to the basket. So then the first round had a bit of a headwind. I threw my Zeus flat, it turned over a little bit, came out. It kind of lifted though, so I was in bounds by an okay amount. I was on the wall on the right-hand side. I missed my putt, but then the second round, I threw kind of the same, only a little bit lower, and ended up just inside circle 1. I think I was on the feathers, and I made the putt, which was super great. And then the last round, I was like, okay, I keep throwing this shot bad. It's working out, but I keep throwing it bad. So then the last round, I was like, you know what? I'm going to aim my body just a little bit more to the left. I'm going to throw my disc just dead flat. I'm going to let it flip up just a little bit, but I want it to go to the left of the tree by the basket and then fade in from there. And I ended up putting it to like 7 feet or something like that. So for me on that hole, the birdie percentage was it was 100% higher than it would have been had I backhanded every round. And that's also sometimes like, you know, this week my backhand did not feel good. And I realized that to where I was like, you know what, on holes that I can throw a forehand, I need to try to take advantage of that. And so, yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah. So I'm saying shout out to you because somehow your intuition, maybe because you said you didn't feel as strong with the other, but like it literally played out stronger as percentages go. A higher percentage birdie was righty forehand. As you said, 2 of your 3 rounds getting the deuce, the other one getting the par. That's pretty good. So, again, I think they're they're going to change the game. They're on their way to changing the games. We partnered with them. Can we get this stat? I think we partnered with them first.
When was our first week of Stat Mando?
Not before they were officially doing something, but I think we were the first partner with them. So here, one more thing, because I told you they were doing speed tracking. They're also doing this. I don't see it here actually here it is for hole 8. It'd be neat to see generally a whole stat about this, but round 2, hole 6, a local, Zach Longuille, had the fastest recorded drive at 66 miles per hour. That was a backhand throw, hole 8. Eagle, choosing to throw forehand, smart guy, because that's the higher percentage birdie, had the
hole 6. So hole 6 is different. I have no idea, yeah.
Thanks for correcting me there. Eagle had the fastest forehand. 63 miles an hour. So you're not seeing much more than 66 or 63 on that hole. I'm interested in seeing how all the stats play out. I know they're on hole 18 and others. You're going to see some cool graphics. Stay on the lookout for those. Do you have any reaction, Nick? I know you kind of zone out. You're probably getting tired, one, but two, the stats. Stats aren't really your thing, but you enjoyed talking a little bit about them, I think.
I do. I've learned to like the stats a lot more since partnering up with Statmando. They've made the process of knowledge throughout the whole thing a lot easier and definitely way more enjoyable. I know that Dion was out on hole 6 the second round. Him and Evan were both there, so I got to talk with them for a little bit because it's always a backup. But my shot, I think, went like 56 miles per hour.
Whoa.
And I threw it back. So hole 6, I'm not trying to throw my arm out on it, but that just shows the difference of like what people are throwing. Like, Zach could have done that with a mid-range maybe, and I threw a fairway driver on it. And
right.
Hole 6, I played way over par this year, so I don't know. Maybe I need to throw faster. I don't know.
So I remembered because we remembered in the beginning, we asked Evan for a question. We got what the question was, hardest par 3. Here was the answer to that. We're going all the way back, the beginning of the show to the end of the show. What did hole 6 play as the hardest par 3 on the Disc Golf Pro Tour this year? Stat or fiction? What do you think, Nick?
Stat.
Okay, very, very close, and I don't know the percentages, but the answer is Waco, hole 18 over the water, hole 18, final hole at Waco. Because, and I don't want to just say it's because, but they changed it to a par 3 this year.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So that outdid hole 6, but hole 6 at Maple Hill is second to that at this point in the season. Yeah. So
I actually did notice this year, I saw more 2s on hole 6 this year than I have in years past, which is frustrating because I think I went like 4-5-4 on the hole. I think. So seeing people to it is like, damn it, why can't I do that? But yeah. The thing is for me, I don't know. Never mind. It doesn't matter.
Nick is at the end of the show, guys. We've made it to the end of our show. But I will say, in closing out hole 6, Connor O'Reilly, the guy who won at the NT Delaware, shout out to him. We'll have to have him back on. He came into a really interesting show last week where it was kind of a whole bunch of players in studio, but shout out to him. I saw the most pure drive, Nick, I have ever seen on hole 6. The only problem was it landed about 15 feet from the basket, which is awesome, but it still allowed room for error, where his putt fell out of the chains. So he didn't get the 2, but a backhand up the pipe with a late flip right down the right lane. Beautiful.
First round, Colton Montgomery put it to probably 25 feet just on this butter line. It was one of the most impressive shots I've ever seen on that hole. I don't even know what he threw. I thought it said tactic, so it's either a really stupidly beat up one, or I just completely read it wrong. Because I know it's an overstable disc, but maybe their baseline plastic beats up decently well. I have no idea. But he put it to like 25 feet and unfortunately missed the putt too. And I was like, dude, I would kill to be in that position to try to make that putt.
So we both saw it. It'd be cool to do a compilation of like the pure shots on that hole for the whole event, and just like, it's probably like 5 people, but just to watch how amazing it played out. Nick, we made it to the end of the show. I thought it was a pretty good one. Let us know, people. Get in the review over on your podcast platform. Let us know what you think. We work hard to bring you stuff that you find valuable. We want you to leave the show feeling like there was value, there was fun. Maybe there's lightheartedness. Sometimes there's serious topics. But Nick is hardcore. He's on the road. He's at events, and he's still doing it for us. We're working hard here. Nick, go ahead and close us out.
I want to say thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I have no idea how many live viewers we have right now, but to anyone watching on YouTube, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Foundation Podcast Network. They've been helping us out all year. We really appreciate them. And same with you guys. It helps us out just a ton if you can like, comment, subscribe, everything like that. Leave the reviews. We're actually going to read them this week. We'll talk about them next Monday, good or bad. Don't purposely read bad ones. If you think the show is good, go ahead and say it's good. Good luck to any of the competitors playing GMC this week. If you're listening to the show right now, tell someone you love them this week. We'll catch you in the next one.
That's right. Nick, you're awesome.
The Nick and Matt Show. a disc golf podcast designed for you, the disc golfer. Find the Nick and Matt Show on your favorite podcast platforms or stream us live exclusively on the Foundation Podcasts YouTube channel.